welcome back to a random hello. I know I had mentioned previously that I wouldn't be doing a planner walkthrough video, but I decided that I can because I'm going to be putting together a planner for my coworker. So here are all my supplies. I've got my trusty Staples Arc punch. This is a really ginormous punch here, but it punches up to 8 pages at a time. It also punches fairly well through laminate, like 3mm laminate. So I'm going to be using this for my punch. I'm going to be using this Happy Planner bookmark. I've got some old Martha Stewart rings from a previous planner. The reason why I'm using used planners for a gift is because I know that she's getting her own cover and rings as well. So it's just a temporary put together, and then she's going to be transferring it into her own hardcover and her new rings. I'm going to be using my Avery insertable tabs. These are amazing. I use these every year. I have my Fiskars trimmer and I have some extra scissors because this is getting really old and it doesn't cut super precisely, so there's certain things that I'll just be cutting by hand instead. These are my Fiskars non-stick scissors, and so these are really great for when you're cutting scissors or tape because it doesn't leave a sticky residue on the blade. Here I have the covers laminated. So what I did was I printed the covers on white cardstock, double-sided, and then I laminated them on my Scotch laminator with a 3mm laminate. If you're planning on using this as your cover, meaning you're not getting a separate hardcover for your planner, I would recommend a higher laminate thickness because this one's only 3mm. It's not going to hold up quite as well. If you go to Staples or places like that, you can get it laminated with 5mm or even up to 10mm laminate pouches, and so I would recommend that if you're planning to use this as your actual cover. But again, these are just 3mm laminate, and again, for her it's going to be more of a temporary hold for her to then switch over to her actual hardcover. I also have the labels, the index tab labels printed out. In the planner version, you're going to see the one with the white font or the option to have it with black font. The black font is more readable. However, I like how the white font looks better, and so I'll be going with this one here because this colorway matches with the Hope colorway, which is what she's chosen for her cover. I've also printed the important dates pages on sticker paper. This is not fancy sticker paper, which is why I'm not big on recommending it. This was just some label paper that I bought in the past, but it'll get the job done. And so I printed both of those on sticker paper. Here I also have a sheet protector. This is from the Staples Arc line. I'm going to be putting one of these in. And this is actually a really heavy duty sheet protector, which is nice. And then I also have this extra Martha Stewart project notebook planner, notebook pocket pouch. I don't know what the official name is. They do just sell the pockets. I just have extras of these from all the covers I've purchased in the past. And then of course we have the planner printed out on bright white HP paper. And yeah, let's get going. I'm going to be doing most of this as a time lapse, and it'll be muted because I'm going to be watching some Star Wars, Clone Wars while I'm doing it, but I'll stop it every once in a while to just show you some detail shots. I'm going to start off by punching the planner. I'm going to generally take big old chunks at a time, and once I hit the months, I'll go 1 month at a time. Again, my punch can handle 8 pages at a time. I don't always go up to 8 pages, but I kind of go in between here and there. So I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse this. So here we go. Now I'm going to move over to punching my covers. Now this is a little tricky because again it is laminate and you're trying to punch through a paper trimmer or punch through a paper puncher. It does get stuck sometimes, but if it does get stuck I'll show you how to unstick it. But for now I'm going to first empty out the tray. So this is going to be a little tricky because I want to punch this the same way the paper is, but the lining up is going to be a little different simply because of the fact that I've got the extra laminate on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to line up a typical sheet of paper in here as well, just to help me get the placement right. Essentially, you're trying to center this. So I'm going to mark it right here. Hope that's pretty close. All right, and of course it's a little stuck. It's not stuck on all of them, but just a couple in the front. You'll see that those are still down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the tray from the bottom. And if I turn it around, you can just get like a pencil or something. Doesn't have to be crazy. And you're just going to push it back in where it's stuck. And now if you wiggle it, you can get it out. So you'll see that there is a little bit of kind of stragglers, but you can just kind of cut those off, and everything else punched fairly well. All right, now if you're not planning on using this as your actual cover, what I like to do is I actually like to trim the edges so that it ends up just being kind of a front page for the planner. So let me show you an example of that. Here is my other colorway. In the original planner walkthrough, I said how I usually print the back cover, but I wasn't able to because of my printer. So here is the planner cover for my planner, which I'm going to be using as a planner front cover, not as like the hard cover. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all of the edges here, and I'm going to cut it as close as I can without cutting into where you can see that gap at the edges. So here we go. This is actually thicker to cut through, so it'll most likely get stuck with this, but we're gonna go ahead and do the same method, except I'm gonna make sure to put that paper alignment back, because this is now closer to just the regular paper size, so I don't have to adjust for the laminate. Okay, and I can already tell that we've got two here that are stuck, so same thing as before, just open it back up. Oh, it actually punched out really clean. It's perfect. Now for cutting these out. Now typically I would use my paper trimmer, but my paper trimmer is becoming a little less reliable, and so I'm only going to be trimming this outside edge with the paper trimmer, and the lines in between I'll be cutting by hand. Now that I have all of the labels printed out, what I'm going to do now is look for all the pages that these labels go on. It's going to be easier to put the labels on before we put these pages in the rings. So I'm going to be looking for all of those pages and we're going to pull those out. Now I know that my coworker is going to have 5 blocks for her checklist, so I'm actually going to put in labels for each of those blocks. I'm just going to pull out 5 of the checklists. Now make sure that these pages are all in order, because if you go out of order it's going to get a little funky, but we're going to be attaching these little tabs onto these pages. First I'll pull this open as far as I can because sometimes it gets a little stuck. And right now none of the sections are sticky. What's sticky is underneath these little white slips, so I'm going to be sticking this in to the page as far as I can. Hopefully this is focusing. And I'm going to take this all the way up to the edge here. And I'm going to try to push this down as much as I can. And then from here, I'm going to lift up one of the sides and remove the adhesive backing. Lay that down. So now that's stuck. And I'm going to do the same thing now to the other side. Now the reason why I pulled out all of these pages at once is that I want my next index tab to lie directly underneath this one. And so I'm going to take the next page that's going to be tabbed. And again, I'm going to pull this apart. I'm telling you, it makes a difference to pull this apart because sometimes then you're going to have lopsided labels. So make sure to give it an extra tug. Line up the pages, line up the labels so that these are flush with each other. You don't want it overlapping, you want it to be exactly flush. Again, hold that in place and remove one side at a time. And then now, when I look at it, it's going to be flush. So now I'm going to be using the second one to attach the third one, and so on. I'm actually going to be filling these in as well. These are made so that if you just fold them in half. I personally like to stick the folded side in first. It depends on how you like yours labeled. I like it for my labels to be read this way. You might put it in going in this way. It's up to you. But here we go. We put the labels in. These are snug. And I've only ever lost, I think, one of my labels. In general, these do not fall out. As long as you use cardstock, it is thick enough to keep these in place. So I'm going to go ahead and continue labeling all of these. Although I can keep going with January down here, since January is the start of the new semester and the new school year, I'm actually going to start with January up here. Now that we've finished putting all the labels on, we just need to get these on the rings now. So I'm going to be using the covers here and putting this all together now. So it's a little unideal that the folder here sticks out just a little bit, and so does the sheet protector page. It sticks out a little bit. Again, I typically would use a hardcover on top of this, and I know that my friend is going to be doing the same. So although it's a little funky right now, I think it's okay. I still love how these colors look, and these tabs look really great. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna add on the important date stickers. The way this is gonna work is I'm gonna be trimming these out just like how I did with the labels. I'm not going to be putting all of these down because I know that she doesn't celebrate most of these religious holidays, and I'm going to give her the rest in case she wants to put them in her planner herself. Now my tip is, because I left the lines in here, I'm actually going to cut slightly inward from the line on either side, and that'll prevent that gray line from appearing. Although these are made to fit perfectly with the width of the boxes, and so if you did include the gray line, it wouldn't be a big problem. So I tried using my cutter and it's being a little too unpredictable in terms of how straight it's cutting, so I am going to cut these by hand as well. So now all that's left is to put in the bookmark for this week. Ooh, and this color goes really well with that. I think this bookmark really goes well with this color theme. All right, and this planner is ready to go. I'll be giving this to my coworker, and so it's all ready. And again, this is if you wanted to keep the laminate cover. Again, with the laminate cover, it is going to be a little bit more flexible and not as sturdy, but it does work. You can use a laminate cover. I would recommend getting this laminated with a thicker laminate, but with my coworker, I know that she's going to be putting a hard cover on top of this, and so it'll be fine without it. But yeah, here we go with all the labels. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. Any of the supplies I used, I will be linking them down below. If you are interested in seeing the walkthrough of all the parts of this planner, you can see that video linked at the end of this one. So, all right, I'll see you around next time. Bye.